could talk about games played by Ryan and Mike. A modern, a retro video game show. Yes, we talk about games and sometimes other stuff like Star Trek. It's a blast, our gaming podcast.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Talk About Games. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Mike. Today we're talking about, I'm sorry, I'm going to be talking about Mr. Do today.
Mr. Do, huh?
Mr. Do.
That's what you're talking about?
Yeah. What do you got?
I'm talking about Cannon Spike. I was just thinking about what game would be the perfect complement for Mr. Do.
They have a lot to do with each other.
Yeah, they could potentially be in the same arcade 10 to 15 to 20 years
Maybe if there
apart.
was still a Mr. Do like in the back of an arcade somewhere.
They have like a board
Maybe.
in a drawer.
That the guy owns at home.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, so Cannon Spike is a game made by Psycho and published by Capcom or in coordination with Capcom.
There's a really good collection on Switch of Psycho games.
Yeah.
I like a lot. They have some shmups that are really cool.
And, you know, I think about Cannon Spike and I think about, you ever have a game that you were really excited about, but no one else was?
You probably. Yeah.
Yeah, like Mr. No.
God damn it.
No, but anyway, so I'm reading GamePro, Game Informer, Electronic Gaming Monthly, whatever, and they're like, it's Cannon Spike. It's a shooter with all your favorite Street Fighter characters. And I'm like, oh wow, guys, I really want to play this shooter game, twin stick. It's not twin stick. We'll talk about that in a minute. I really want to play this shooter game that has all the Street Fighter characters, and everybody else is like,
Did they just want to play Street Fighter?
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that Cannon Spike is the most Dreamcast game
Yeah.
that you could possibly play.
Right.
Other than a game like Crazy Taxi or something like that.
Sure.
It's
Well,
obviously
that's the most, yeah.
right. So this is an expensive game. It's a couple $100 now.
I didn't know that. I have a copy of it.
Yeah. Oh, you won the lottery.
Okay.
Isn't it great? Look, if you collect video games long enough, you're gonna win the lottery every day.
Right.
Because it's like, oh crap, that game's worth money.
I didn't know that like the Final Fantasy VII is, because I like the Super Nintendo ones, but I have a copy of the Final Fantasy VII, and like I one day somebody was like, oh, talking about it, and they're like, oh, that's actually worth a lot of money, and I'm like,
How?
I'm like, it is.
How? They've made so many. I remember going to GameStop and you look at Final Fantasy VII and there's like rows and rows and rows.
I don't necessarily know. It's not like one of the most expensive games in the system or anything.
Right.
It's just that it might be worth over 100 now or something.
No shit.
I think it is.
Over 100?
Like if it's the one with like the black.
Oh, it doesn't have the greatest hits.
Yeah, I think it's the original, and that's the one I have.
Wow.
So, but I don't really. I never got. I tried Final Fantasy VII. Not to get too off topic, but I tried Final Fantasy VII in college because I had a friend that was like his favorite.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I only played the Super Nintendo ones. He's like, oh, you gotta play it. And then I played it, and I was like, it was so different.
I
just didn't.
I love the materia system.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as good as the system in 6 with the espers, but
I love that.
I love the materia system in that game. I think it suffers from the fact that Midgar has like all the great pre-rendered everything, and then you get outside and there's like a polygon.
Yeah,
like the world map is like very like basic.
Yeah,
and you know I think that the polygonal characters, like the characters you play as, work. Like they almost have like a retro charm now.
Maybe now,
like going back, but
I played it at the time, and it was so polygonal then that I think I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah.
And it actually, and you might be like, but what about N64 and Ocarina of Time? I didn't like when you see like Link and he's got like the pointed nose and everything, that bothered me too.
Yeah.
I didn't like that. You know?
So this game, Cannon Spike, I think the Dreamcast is the oldest system where things kind of look right.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like Final Fantasy VII where it's like, you know, everyone's like very triangular and it's very like,
it's not really like that.
Like Dreamcast has like lighting and it's just kind of flashy. But the arcade version of Cannon Spike and the Dreamcast version of Cannon Spike are two very different games, and it all comes down to control.
Okay.
So in the arcade, you have 3 buttons. You have the special, the melee, and the shooting, and you lock on with it like that. On the Dreamcast, you use almost every button on the controller.
Did you try the arcade version too?
I played it in an emulator.
An emulator, yeah.
I have a Naomi and a Naomi too. So I could get the cart, or I could get the multi-cart, the that
has all the games.
net boot and things like that. So I'll probably play it someday, but I played it in an emulator.
So wait, I'm trying to think for a second. So the original was arcade, but so it would be on a Naomi arcade.
Yes.
And then they took that and ported it to Dreamcast. So then
I think they were developed at the same time.
So at that time, there would just be a bunch of Naomi games, and then they took certain ones and ported them to Dreamcast.
So, if you talk about Naomi games, what are Naomi games? Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is a Naomi game. Power Stone 1 and 2.
I know Power Stone, right?
Are Naomi games. Virtual Fighter is a Naomi game. There's a lot.
Okay.
You could just do a search, Naomi.
Are you going to have some kind of Naomi setup at the convention? Or?
Yeah. So I have Virtual Fighter 4, which is what I have in a Naomi 2 setup in like a Western cabinet.
Okay.
And then I have Marvel vs. Capcom 2, which actually, I probably won't put it in a candy cab because of time crunches. So it'll probably
in an
be
ideal world, maybe the following year or something like that. Yeah.
Something like that.
Right.
It'll be in a Western cabinet that's kind of jank, but the monitor's nice, so enjoy that.
Right.
The buttons work.
Right.
That's where
the most important part, though.
That's where we are right now.
Right.
Is the monitor nice? Do all the buttons work? We'll worry about cosmetics later.
I mean, that is what you should be doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like if
we'll get into talk about that. I got some marquees here. I got some comments on that, but we'll get to that later.
So, I'm going to be talking about the Dreamcast game primarily, but what's cool about it is this is a game that looks like a twin stick shooter, but it's not. It has like this lock-on technology.
Is it stick or D-pad?
It's analog.
Analog, okay.
Yeah, and that's very important because like if you push the analog all the way down, you go like really fast. So you can dodge out of the way of things.
Now, what are the controls on is it like a dodge roll?
There's not actually. It's all analog placement. Like you go really hard. Like it's more patterns and memorization and things like that at the higher levels. But this game has 7 difficulties.
Okay.
So, and the default difficulty is 5.
I say.
Okay.
Which is kind of high up already, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's pretty punishing. The default difficulty of this game is like you are one quartering it.
1 credit, yep.
Right? So that is the default. That's what they expected you to play as. That's not...
You got to tone it down.
You got to tone it down a little bit. But the levels are really short. Usually the levels are like fight a couple enemies, fight a mid-boss, fight the boss.
Well, you know what? That's funny because that makes me think of... I feel like the more I've learned about arcade games and games over the years is I feel like there seems to be a mentality that with a lot of these games, and I think I understand why, that if you didn't, I don't know if I feel that way, but if you didn't 1cc it, you didn't really beat it. And is what is going on today? It's some people have that mentality, and it's maybe the game designers felt that way too, where it's you have to 1cc it, then that's why they put it on that. But really, you got to work your way up to that. So you probably put it on 2 or 3.
Yeah, going back, we played Metal Slug a few times ago. I've been playing Metal Slug 5 recently, and the first time I beat it, it was 50. It's at the end, I just died and died and died.
Yeah.
But then the next time I did it in 11.
Exactly.
That's a big jump.
That's what you do. You go through, you play it, you die a bunch, and then the next time you gradually work your way down, and you eventually get to that 1cc after a while.
Right. Yeah. So it controls like a fighting game, and bear with me.
Yeah.
Right? So you have a light ranged attack, which is like a rapid fire machine gun, like a shmup gun.
Okay.
Right? And when you do that, your character locks his or her facing.
So you're like strafing.
Yes.
That's cool. See, I like those kind of games.
Then you have a heavy gun attack, which does a lot more damage, but you can just fire those off.
Okay.
And your character, it restrains your motion. Whereas you could just shoot all day and move as fast as you want. When you do that heavy attack, you
slow down a little bit.
You slow down a little bit. You have a light melee attack, which is like a combo.
A lot of shmups have that mechanic too, where it's like if you're using the more powerful attack, you're gonna like move side to side like slower.
Yeah,
and then if you could do your lighter attack that takes more hits on the enemy, then you're moving around faster. Like that's a common mechanic.
Yeah. You have a light melee attack that's like a combo, like you're playing Streets of Rage or something.
Okay.
And then you have a heavy melee attack that is like a single hit.
How are the melees? Do you prefer
You
like
need it. You need it.
You need it. Okay.
This game, like, all the enemies will send a bunch of little guys at you, and if you do the melee attack, you just kill them.
Okay, I didn't know if like one was overpowered versus the other. Like if you want to if you're like always shooting and you like never really use the melees. I like when games are balanced where it's like you're okay with using the melee because it's just as good.
And then you have a special attack which uses a special, which is just like it's not a screen clear though. It just does super heavy damage in a straight line. Now, the characters in this game are pretty crazy because only one of them is made for this game, and that's Shiba. Shiba is just a guy with a gun.
Om Nam Shiba. Om Nam Shiba.
Right?
No, it's so you were telling me there's some Street Fighter characters.
Yeah, so there is Cammy, obviously from Street Fighter 2, and her special attack is the cannon spike, because this game was actually called Gun Spike in Japan. They changed it.
Oh, Gun Spike. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Cannon Spike, she does the roll and then kicks.
Yeah.
So that's how the name of the game changed. The game has beautiful hand-drawn artwork throughout. Like all the menus are hand-drawn.
The characters when they come up.
The characters are, but then they're 3D when you're actually in the game. It's a little bit like, I know I always talk about Final Fantasy Tactics a lot, but like when the Final Fantasy Tactics loading screens have like art
a little
on
similar
them,
to that.
It's pretty crazy.
I think everybody's allowed to have their favorite games that they use as an example.
Yeah.
Like I do Zelda. Yours probably is Final Fantasy Tactics. You bring that up quite a bit. Or your other one's probably like World of Warcraft.
Right.
You bring that up a lot. But I think, depending on what you grew up with, you have to have a frame of reference for, explaining things.
Yeah.
So.
And I've played these games hundreds of hours.
Yeah.
Hundreds of hours. I'm going to talk about the next character from Street Fighter Alpha, but also many other Street Fighters. Charlie Nash. We know him his name is Charlie Nash, but we know him as Charlie in the United States and Nash in Japan.
Okay.
Charlie has, I'm going to get in trouble with this. Charlie has Guile's moveset. So he has the Sonic Boom and the Flash Kick.
Right.
He gets horribly disfigured. And he's Nash.
Oh, okay.
In Street Fighter 3.
Okay.
And his moveset's different.
I don't know a lot of that lore,
Right.
so okay.
So he's big in it. And then, like, a weird character is there's Arthur from Ghouls and Ghosts is in it.
Right, because it's Capcom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there are 2 hidden characters,
Oh.
which probably should have been not hidden characters.
And they're also Capcom?
Yes.
Okay, what do we
Mega
got?
Man.
Oh, Mega Man's in it?
Mega Man's in it.
Oh, wow.
Which is crazy playing Mega Man in a shooter.
Okay. Were
Like,
you able to
I did.
Okay. What do you have to do on unlock Mega Man?
I don't know.
Is it probably like beat it on 7 or some shit?
I'm not.
Yeah.
I may go back and try to do it for the footage for the
Yeah.
episode, but I haven't done it yet.
Right.
And Little Red Hood from Darkstalkers.
Oh my God, I thought it was like for that Little Red Hood from NES.
No, right?
Which wouldn't be.
It's the same
yeah.
character,
Right.
right?
Yeah, right.
But so she's in it as well.
Okay.
One of the things I don't like about this game is that I feel that the characters are very unbalanced. Oh, and I forgot to mention one other character. There's a character, Simone, which is from a game called 3 Wonders, who's in it.
3 Wonders, I think, is a shmup.
Yeah.
And that is usually put together in like a package with other like shmups and whatnot. I have played that, and I think I remember liking that game quite a bit, actually. Yeah. I'm aware of that.
Yeah, I found the person
Yeah.
who knows that.
Yeah.
Because I was like talking to other people. When I was playing, that's who I was playing as, when you were watching me.
Yeah. You know why I know that? Because I think I might get this wrong, but I think on Sega Saturn they might have like ported it or something, and
Okay.
I have like all the games, so I was like trying everything out. I think it was Saturn.
I just want to mention to everybody that before we started filming, I sat down with Mike and I played this game in front of him.
Yeah.
So that you could see it. I mean, you knew Cannon Spike. I didn't have to show it to you, but
Yeah.
we sat down and I showed him the different moves and the different levels. And
Well, I do own a copy of the game, but I haven't fucked
Yeah.
with it. Like I have a lot of games that are like that where I own a bunch. I have like, all these PlayStation games or something, and then like I've played a handful of them, you know. So that's why I do these streams where I go through and try all these games, because I'm still trying to catch up on 30 years ago, you know.
I figured that this was a Mike game. When I played it, I was going through it. I'm like, this is the kind of thing you want to beat it on 7.
I want well, we'll
Maybe.
see. We'll
If you
see.
like it.
If I'd have to like it enough,
Right.
Yeah.
But if you play it on the low difficulties, you can get through it.
Yeah.
So everybody's looking for like an entry level shooter,
Oh, okay.
right? You're like, oh, I play these shooters, I don't get very far, I don't get to experience it. You play it on the lower difficulties, you're going to get to go in and beat it,
I got it like entry level one. You ever play that Jamestown?
Yes.
Game? I feel like that's like a good entry one.
Yeah. It's on
Switch.
Jamestown. You're like, it's on Switch. It's on a Taito Type X arcade cabinets.
Oh.
So if you have a
Okay.
TTX system
Yeah.
with, oh my God.
If you have the TTX system, or if you happen to have a Switch.
yeah. One of those is,
Yeah.
the TTX is, so like, the Taito Type X3 is what Street Fighter V ran on.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like it's a PC. They're just PCs,
Mm-hmm.
really. But getting that to run, I have one of those and I can't get it to run because you need a graphics card with specific firmware.
What do you even do? Like buy that on eBay or something?
Yeah, and then you have to flash it. But the problem is it doesn't have a PCI Express slot. It is an AGP slot. So you need to find an old ass computer that will run with 2 graphics cards, because you need to be able to see.
And it's probably a specific type of computer.
Yeah. And then you got to go to some shady website and get the firmware.
Yeah.
And get a firmware patcher for it.
So by the time we do our next episode, you'll have that all ready to go, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Right. I'm close. I have it so that I can boot in the Windows and it shows up.
What do you need that you don't have?
The video card. Yeah. I mean, I might go, but I don't want to spend $300 on a 10-year-old video card.
Yeah.
That somebody ripped out of some machine in China, and who knows if it works
Right.
and if it has the right firmware. Because like, I could literally right now, you could go on eBay
Yeah.
and people sell the graphics cards like new in box.
Yeah.
Like the guy must have 100 of them.
Right.
You go to an eBay listing and it's like they have a fuck ton.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So he's got a fuck ton of these graphics cards.
Right.
And he sells them for $25.
Yeah.
But they're not
That's not the right.
it's not the right thing. And he sells a ton of them. I can't imagine the market for it. Also works with a pinball machine. It's like a rock and bowl pinball machine.
Okay, or it works with something else too.
It runs the screen for that.
Right.
So, but he sells like a couple a week.
Right.
Who are all these people?
Cannon Spike though.
Yeah. Trying to get
Tell me.
Yeah, Cannon Spike. Vega's in it
Okay.
from Street Fighter, and it's the only place in the West where Vega has his
The claws?
no, he's always got the claws.
He's got the claws.
It's the only Western game where he's called Balrog.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. Okay.
So let's do the Street Fighter thing.
Okay, sure.
So you watch Street Fighter tournament, right? And the Street Fighter tournament's being broadcast in the West and in the East. And the commentators are talking about what's happening. And they see M. Bison.
Yeah.
And what do they call him? They call him Dictator,
Uh-huh.
right?
Okay.
Because the Japanese people know him as Vega,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And then you see Vega,
okay.
and they're doing the commentary. What do they call Vega? They call him Claw.
Oh.
Because he's Balrog in Japan.
I didn't know any of this.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then when you see,
I just know all the U.S. names. I didn't know that there was. I mean, it makes sense now that I think about it that there would be all these regional like differences, but
and then you see Balrog, and what do they call him in the commentary? They call him Boxer.
that
Why?
I've heard that. Yeah,
Because he's M. Bison. They changed it because M. Bison was too close to Mike Tyson. So they reshuffled all the
really?
names.
Okay.
So we have a feature film. There's M. Bison in it.
Yeah.
And it's M. Bison, Mike Tyson. Like,
I never put
his name should be Vega.
I never made that connection.
And they've had so much time to fix it.
right.
But this is the only game. There's Fallen Balrog and Revenger Balrog are in it.
Yeah.
And they're Vega
Right.
from
That's a cool
Street Fighter.
little piece of trivia.
It's pretty crazy.
Did you beat it?
No.
You didn't beat it. It's tough.
No.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to beat it on easy. I didn't want to beat it. I beat it as a kid.
Okay.
I beat it as a kid a bunch of times.
Okay.
Like 1, 2,
So
3.
you owned it.
Low difficulty. Yeah, I had it.
Yeah.
Dreamcast was my system. In fact, there was a situation where I was friends with a kid. Okay? Mm-hmm. And we pulled our money together, and $99.99, we went in. We bought Soul Calibur, Power Stone, Sonic, 1 VMU, 2 controllers, and a Dreamcast. Mm-hmm. And we bought it together. And me and my friend, we played all of it. We played Dreamcast every day. I would get my money from whatever job I had at the time. I'd go in, I'd buy Dreamcast games all the time. I had like so many Dreamcast games. I had all of them. And the Dreamcast sat at my house. When the PS2 came out, I ended up buying out his half of the Dreamcast.
Oh.
Because I would rather have the Dreamcast than the PS2.
Okay.
Because the PS2 was so expensive, and there really wasn't a lot on it.
Yeah.
Like in the beginning.
Right.
Later, I saved up and bought a PS2, right?
Speaking of the PS2, I want to ask the audience just something. If you happen to be a tech guy or know anything about it, I have like a lot of modded systems and a lot of modded consoles and all this, but I haven't done it yet with PlayStation 2. And if you guys know what the best option for that is, let me know, because what your thoughts are. Maybe Ryan has thoughts. I don't know. But that's one I haven't done yet because I'm like, how do I do PS2? Because I have the X Station for like PS1, PS2. I'm like, oh.
So do you know Free McBoot? You don't know Free McBoot? Mm-mm. So there's like memory card hacks where you can just boot. Like you stick the special memory card in,
Okay.
and then you could just boot, and I think you can like run stuff off of hard drives and stuff.
Does it suck though?
I've never tried it. I have
Yeah.
it. I bought Free McBoot.
Right.
I own the memory card that has it.
Because like with X Station, because I like to have the real. To explain, I don't want to do anything on the PC. I want the real system. I want to be able to hook it up to CRT, and it'd be nice. Like with the X Station, you can put an SD card, you can load the games, and it's great. That's like the best one of all of them because it literally everything comes up in a list. You click the button, the game comes on. It's like flawless.
So do you have a Saturn that has like the SD card in
with
it?
the Saturn, I got a thing called the Sadiator.
Yeah.
And it does this annoying thing. Maybe it's just the one I have where, let's say you're in the game and then you want to drop back to the menu with the list of games. It's like really finicky. And sometimes it'll work and sometimes it'll just restart the game. And you have to do it over and over until it finally goes back to the menu. It kind of sucks. So there's for Saturn, there's another device called the Fenrir or something, I think, and I need to get it, but they're always out of stock.
Isn't that how all this works now?
Yeah.
It's like some guy that does like a short run of them, like,
And then you gotta wait forever.
You gotta wait.
and then be put on list, and then hope you get it.
and
all this
then
stuff.
like when it comes up, like you're asleep.
So yeah. So
Sells out.
at the moment I have the Sadiator, but I'm looking for an upgrade on that.
That's cool. Yeah, because every Saturn game is expensive.
Yeah.
And
I've got a bunch of Saturn games, but here's my thing: is like it's like with the NES. I've got a lot of NES games, but I like to just have the one cart in, and then I don't have to go get the Q-tips or the 1-up cards and the clean the thing and all that. And it's just like you gotta take it off the shelf. You got like a lot of them I have in the box. It's just kind of a pain, and then you're always cleaning it and all that. And I'm in the middle of the stream, and I'm taking the carts in and out, and I did that for a long time. Just to have the EverDrive in is like you just load the game instantly. It's like
It's
great.
so good.
It's so convenient.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So the big problem with this game, the characters are very uneven. Right?
Okay.
Like Charlie, when he does the sonic booms and the flash kicks and special attacks and all of that, and his like drill gun and stuff is so much better than some of the other characters. Like Simone is not anywhere near as good.
Who's the best? Who's the best?
I like Charlie.
You like Charlie?
I like Charlie because his attack also like drills through them.
Okay.
So it like keeps hitting them as it's passing through them. And
Okay,
it's
so he's like really good.
It's like so much more damage. And his special, like if Simone does her special, it may deal like a little bit of damage, but like he shoots his sonic booms, like 3 come out, and it
So
does,
that's also kind of the flaw of the game is that it comes down to like there's like 1 or 2 characters that are like the best ones, and the others you're like, eh.
right.
Like how's Arthur?
Arthur's good because I feel like the dudes are really good at it, and the girls are like
It's
not,
one of those. They did
which
that.
is it's kind of rough. But yeah, because he's like bigger. He has like his attacks are wider.
I wonder if you unlocked like Mega Man, if he's
He'd
like
be insane.
like clearly the best, you know,
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, or like Red Hood's like ridiculous.
Right, Red Hood's the best. Right?
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, but like I'm playing as Charlie, and I'm like, this game's easy.
With Dreamcast, I wonder if there'd be a code. You can put a code in and just get Mega Man or something.
Yeah.
You know?
I have to look it up.
Yeah.
I might go back and see if I can get some Mega Man footage.
Yeah.
Like we play it.
I'd like to see what it looks
yeah,
like.
because
you know?
if he's like insane, that
And you just play with him.
you play with him, it's
Yeah.
awesome. I think it would have been cooler if it was X. And bear with me, I know Mega Man is cool, but I think the aesthetic of this game having X
You think it would fit better?
would fit better.
Okay.
Because he's more like detailed and
Okay.
like the white and blue, and
Sure.
it's like, or it'd be cool to have Zero in this game because of the melee attacks.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this game is a lot of fun.
What about bass?
You could do bass, but like bass, I feel like bass is claim to fame is shooting like this
Yeah.
and like this,
Right.
shooting like that. It's a plane.
If he was in this game, he'd be shooting into the sky, right?
Oh, he's just like this,
He's like completely worthless.
He's like Dan, like yeah. That's who we want. I want Dan. I want bass. I want
Right. Dr. Light, he just stands
Dr.
there,
Lay. He's like
gets shot. He's throwing beakers, like
yeah, yeah. Like this game is fine, but if they would have put more time into it could be like this amazing Capcom All-Stars shooter.
yeah.
Like, imagine if this game had the effort put into it as like a Marvel vs. Capcom.
Right.
And granted, shooters aren't fighting games and all of that, but like it has the beginnings of some like really cool things.
Right.
And it's like if it has just a little bit more. But it was an arcade game.
Yeah.
So it was developed to be pick up and play.
Regardless, it seems like a really neat game, and it's probably something that I'll hopefully eventually get to.
Yeah. You definitely should. It's a lot of fun to play.
Speaking of Dreamcast, for Dreamcast, right now I'm doing the GDMU for it, so I'm gonna have I'll be able to go through all those games too, but I don't have that set up yet.
It's one of my favorite systems. Like Dreamcast, I love Dreamcast. I don't mind a controller. I know everybody's like, "Oh, the wire comes out the bottom and everything."
I had the Dreamcast controller with like the green buttons and shit.
Yeah.
The like arcade stick, like that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I have another like third party controller that's more like a normal controller that you can use for it.
Yeah.
I also don't mind. I actually. Okay, so I also don't like the wire that goes under, but once you actually are sitting there and you have it, it's like it is stupid that it's not in the back, but when you're actually playing the games, it doesn't really affect anything. It's fine. I think that actually is the best controller for it. Really,
I wish Dreamcast had more 4-player games. That's the only thing because it's got the ports and like the VMU stuff is a little lame. Like there's no VM. I know everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, the Chows and Sonic and stuff," but I'm not into that Tamagotchi shit. So. That's fun. I don't have time.
Right.
I have real kids. Right.
Right.
I don't need my fake egg kid.
Right.
Like, I don't have time for that.
You got to get your kid to the birthday party and make sure they have the equal present.
Yeah, right.
So that
right,
it's not too much or too little.
Because if you do like a too much present, that's no good.
That's no good either.
Right? Like, and there might be a clown at the party. This is my attempt at a segue. Right?
There'd be a clown at the party. You'd be playing pin and tail and the donkey, all that. Speaking of clowns,
I hate when podcasts do that. When they're like,
you don't have to do that.
Segue. Like, come on.
Can from now on you just be like, it's your turn. Just
Yo.
do your Mr. Do shit.
Yeah, dude. Do
Yo,
it.
so now it's Mike's turn.
It's Mike's turn.
All right,
Here you go.
my turn.
I'm passing the baton.
All right. So what I got here is I got some marquees. I guess I'm going to start with the marquees because they're sitting here. So I'm going to be talking about Mr. Do. I got a bunch of notes, but we'll get into that. So I want to start with these. So Mr. Do. I thought that this was the real Mr. Do marquee.
Yeah.
And I found out that it's not. I actually don't have it yet. So the original version of Mr. Do is a machine with an orange marquee and an orange control panel, and the stick is just black. And and it's a very like wooden looking machine,
Right.
with black sides.
Yeah.
That's the original machine, and I actually don't have that marquee. What I have is the more popular one, which is the Universal Cabinet. Which, if you ever heard of the arcade game Ladybug, what they did is they had the cabinets for Ladybug, and I guess they needed more Mr. Do machines. So they're like, let's take a bunch of the Ladybugs and convert them, and they did conversions. So the popular Mr. Do machine is actually a conversion of Ladybug machines, and that's what this is on. This marquee is famous, like slightly famous, at least to like people in the 90s, I guess, because there's the famous photo from Saved by the Bell of Screech. And he's standing in front of this marquee, because he's supposed to be like the nerdy character,
right?
Like Urkel or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's that cabinet.
I was gonna say the Mr. Do Ladybug situation is a real radar scope Donkey Kong situation.
Wait, what do you mean?
So radar scope didn't sell well. I can't imagine why.
Right. Sure.
Right. So Nintendo of America needed a game, because they had all these cabinets.
Yeah.
And the classic story is Nintendo of America rushed and took all of the radar scopes and turned them into Donkey Kongs.
Okay.
So that they could
get
That's right. Donkey Kong out there.
Sure, yeah.
Right? But, the one thing I do have to say about radar scope is it has the best red color.
And then they also took the Sky Skippers and turned them into Popeye and all that.
Right.
Yeah.
There
was a lot of that kind of shit that went on back. I guess the game wasn't selling well, and they didn't want to make new cabinets because that's probably expensive to make
big,
the actual
heavy
cabinet.
thing.
Yeah, so they're like, let's just convert them. So speaking of conversions, so there was another conversion, and I had this. So I collect marquees, and I just like been picking up these marquees over the years. So I was like, why is there that was the first one I got, and then I saw this one, and I'm like, why is there like a yellow one? Whatever, I'll pick it up anyway. I thought this was like a fake or something, but what this actually is just another conversion. So there was a second Mr. Do cabinet that was just it had different side art. It doesn't look like it's just a different look, but it's another universal conversion cabinet with that marquee. So there's that one. And then I have the sequel games, because Mr. Do has a bunch of sequels. So the sequel to Mr. Do is Mr. Do's Castle, which I actually like this marquee a lot. It's pretty cool.
I want to mention that one of the problems I had with Mr. Do is it doesn't have free play.
Oh, no.
Okay, so I retrofitted the cabinet. I took out the coin mechs and I put buttons in.
So that you can just free play it.
But they're cool. They look like the buttons, so you could free play.
Oh, that's awesome.
But the long-term solution is a company called highscoresaves.com makes a add-on board where you pop the chip off, you put the add-on board in its place, and then you put the chip down.
And then you can actually do like the regular.
And then you don't have to set dip switches anymore. It has like a menu.
I see.
But it actually saves your high scores.
Yeah.
So you don't need a battery, because the batteries can corrode and stuff.
Right.
It adds free play.
Yeah.
And because the EEPROMs on it are so much more dense than the ones now, you could switch between regular Mr. Do and Mr. Do's Castle.
Oh, I didn't know
on the
that's
same
cool.
board
Yeah.
because it costs them nothing to have both sets of ROMs
I say.
on there because it's a modern thing.
Modern thing. Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool. And I'm gonna talk about those a little bit later. Then there was Mr. Do's Wild Ride, which is the third game, and that one's like a amusement park game. There's that marquee, and then there's the last one, Do Run, which is the last Mr. Do game. So there's all my Mr. Do marquees. I ripped them off the wall just to bring them in here. But I got a bunch of notes on this, and I'm gonna go through a bunch of stuff here. So Mr. Do. It was a 1982 game made by Universal.
Older than me.
It's a high score game,
Yeah.
like many of them were back there. And it was inspired by Dig Dug. You've all played Dig Dug, I'm sure. And you might wonder which came first. Dig Dug was first.
Okay.
So this is basically like it was inspired by. You can say if you want to call it a ripoff, you can go ahead and call it a ripoff.
Which one do you like better?
I like Mr. Do better, and that's why I want to talk about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I love Dig Dug, but
Yeah.
there's some reasons why I like this game better. So Dig Dug, you got the little guy going around. He digs the tunnels, and he's got the air pump.
Yes.
One of the big differences, Mr. Do, he's a clown, and he walks around, and he's got a ball, and the ball, it can go like all over the screen.
If you miss with that ball, you're fucked.
Right. So
You cannot miss.
So one of the things that I like about it, though, is that that's part of the strategy in that you have to dig the tunnels in such a way that you are basically digging like straight tunnels that have paths so that when you throw the ball, it doesn't get lost all over the screen. That's part of the tactic and what makes it interesting. Whereas in Dig Dug, you have this short little like hose that comes out and like blows up the guys. And this thing, if you're good at it, you can dig a giant trench that goes from one side of the screen to the other. If you're playing, the vertical version of it, this game's on Super Nintendo too, and then they sort of made it like 4/3 or whatever. But you can dig this huge trench, and you can just keep killing like enemies if you're playing the game, the right way. But when you first start playing the game, the ball's just going all over the place, and you might think, oh, this sucks. The ball's going everywhere. You got to play the game and kind of get into it and kind of learn that, oh, I have to dig the tunnels in such a way that the ball isn't just going all over the place erratically. So what I want to talk about is that there's 4 different ways that you can basically clear the screen and get to the next screen in the game. Like Donkey Kong, you got to get to the top.
Yeah.
So how do you get to the next screen in Mr. Do? So you're a little clown. You're walking around these levels. One of the things you're doing, you're going around and you're collecting cherries. You get the cherries and they give you points. And if you get all the cherries on the stage, that's one way that the stage will end. That's way 1.
There's more. Okay.
There's 4 ways.
So I literally own this, and I thought it was strictly a cherry game.
Not even close.
Okay.
That's why this game. This is a really interesting game, and it's a really good game. And if you actually know how to play it, it's actually a very good game. So I want to give you all the ways. So that's one way to collect all the cherries, but that's like the least interesting way to do it.
Right.
And when you start playing, if you've never played it before, you're like, oh, I'll collect the cherries and go to the next stage. Whatever. This game sucks. Right. So the next way is if you destroy all the enemies, it'll end. So there's basic little monster enemies that go around. If you kill all those, that's another way you'll go to the next screen. Another way. So you can spell out the word extra. Along the top of the screen, it'll say extra in the different numbers. So if you spell out extra, that's the third way you can do it, and I'll talk more about that. That's the third way that you can go to the next screen. And then the last way, which is very rare, but I recorded footage of the game for this.
Yeah.
And I actually did it. You can get a diamond. That's a very rare diamond that comes up. And if you happen to get the diamond, you'll get a ton of points and it'll take you to the next screen.
Wow.
I've done it like once in my life.
How do you get the diamond?
It like randomly comes up, I think. I don't know how. If anybody knows how you actually get the diamond, let me know. I actually don't know. I think it's just this random thing that happens. So I do have footage of that.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, also in this game, so Dig Dug has boulders, and if you push the boulder, it might fall on one of those dragons or whatever those little things are in that game. Mr. Do has candy apples. It's the same exact idea. You push them, they fall on enemies. That's like the same fucking thing. There's also, in the middle of the screen, there's desserts.
Yes.
So on the first stage, it might be like a piece of cake or something like that. The dessert is in the middle of the screen, and what that does, let's say you get it, it freezes all the enemies on the screen, and then so let's say there's like 7 enemies on the screen, and you get the piece of cake. They all freeze, and what happens is then from the top where the extra is, a bunch of blue monsters come out, and they look like Muppets. And then so 3 of those come out, and then one of the letters comes out. So it's like extra. So maybe the E comes out, but you have these other monsters. So there's a strategy to this. So so like I said, you have that piece of cake, and then there's all these other monsters, and they freeze, and then you got these other monsters to deal with. So what you want to do is you want, and so the monsters, the regular monsters, originally come out from the center of the screen. Once they're all gone, that's when that piece of dessert will appear.
Yes.
So basically, let's say there's 6 of them. There's 6 regular monsters. You wait for the 6 regular monsters to come out, and then what you want to do is you want to kill 5 of the 6, let's say. And it's different on all the stages. Like the next stage, it might be 10 of them or something.
Right.
You want to basically
leave one.
Leave one on screen, because if you kill all of them, the stage is going to end and you're going to go to the next stage. So here's what you do. You kill all the monsters, but you leave one walking around. Then you go get the piece of dessert. And then the 3 additional monsters are going to come out. Because if you have all those monsters on the screen plus the extra monsters, you're going to be in a bad situation.
Right.
So now you only have the 1 frozen monster. The 3 blue monsters are coming out. They're walking around the screen and the letter. Then you kill the couple blue monsters, and then at the last thing you do, you use your ball and you get the letter. Then you got 1 letter. At that point, now you're like, now I'm going to find a way to end the level. So you can get the rest of the cherries, you can kill the monsters, whatever. Do what you got to do to end the level, and then you go to the next screen. Mm-hmm. If you keep going, now you're on the next stage, the next screen. Now you're going to try to get the X or the T or the R or the A, whatever. If you keep doing that, if you spell out extra, a screen comes up, and it's kind of like Pac-Man, where, you know, when Pac-Man goes by and he's chomp, chomp, chomp.
Yep.
That's the famous, probably the first cutscene in a video game, you know, is Pac-Man going back and forth. It's kind of like that, where they're running back and forth, and you get an extra life. That's how you get an extra life in the game. So you're continually trying to spell out extra to get the extra lives, is what it is. And that's the thing about the game that keeps me coming back, because games like that, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, whatever, Mr. Do, Dig Dug, any of these games, I am never going to have the high score in the world in any of these games. So when
Me either, let me tell you.
Right. So when I play any of this stuff, sometimes that can be a little like, you know, oh, this is fun and whatever, but even in your own arcade, you might not even be able to get the high score. But this has this sort of secondary goal to it, where you're like, I'm not going to play to get the high score in the world or whatever. I'm going to play just to try to get the extra screen to come up. So I'm just going to try that. That's my whole goal. I just want to spell extra. If I do that, I feel like I at least did something,
right? As
opposed to like, oh, I got 1,000 points and I died and game's over. Let's go play the next game.
All right. So, my wife bought me a pinball machine last year.
Yeah.
It's pinball pool, and this is about high scores. So she bought it for me. We drove up to New York, to the mountains. It was beautiful, Appalachian Trail. We did some hiking. We met this guy. We got the pinball machine. We came back. Bring it up to my house, put it in, right? The high score on that machine is 686,000 right now. And I played it. And when I first started playing it, I was getting like 150.
150 points.
150,000.
Oh, 150,000.
No, I was getting like 220.
220, okay.
220. Then for a while, I was in the 300s for a while.
Okay, and what's the high score again?
686,000.
686. So you're like halfway there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So right now, the highest I've ever gotten was like 510.
Okay, so you could, if you keep working on it, you could probably do it.
Right. I just feel like I should have the high score on the pinball machine in my
that you own, yeah.
that I own.
And does it can you put initials in?
Yeah.
Or is it
Oh no, you can't put initials
it's like
in.
Old, like
it's
where you can't
old.
do that. Yeah.
And it only stores 1 high score. The thing I'm wondering is, because the guy serviced it beforehand, was he just am I like fighting against a ghost? Like did he just
put numbers
just
in?
Testing the targets?
Right.
Like was he sitting there with a ball just
like working
testing
on it?
the targets?
Right.
Now, speaking of high scores, I want to ask you something.
Yeah.
The left up kicker on this If you hit it, it advances your multiplier, which you want to do.
Okay.
Mine, the force that it shoots knocks it straight down the middle, and I lose the ball.
Yeah.
Unless I hit the machine when it comes.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
Do you think it would cheapen my high score if I serviced the kickers on the sides?
Would it make it different than what the game was like originally?
It would make... Well, right now, I think there's no way that hitting the multiplier should make you lose your ball.
True, I guess. Yeah,
Right?
right.
So there's no way it was designed that way.
Sure.
Right?
Okay.
There's no way I should have to basically almost tilt the machine to not lose my
By
ball.
service, like, what would you do?
I would replace them with new ones.
Okay. I mean, it's your machine if you feel like that's what you should do. It's hard for me to say because I haven't played the machine and I don't know the history of the machine and
Right.
and I don't know. If I compared it to like the same exact machine, like I'd probably have to compare it to another machine
Right.
because maybe another machine is like works more properly.
Because
I don't know.
Because I feel like it's bullshit. Right?
Okay.
You do the thing that advances the multiplier
And it just goes
It just
straight down?
shoots right down the middle.
And there's no way you can hit it.
There's no way you could hit it.
Well, then that seems like there's something wrong if that's true.
Right?
Yeah.
But I think that if I had that, because I can make it so that I can, I like literally.
So you have to do that to not die.
Yes. So what I do when I play is I
You
literally
don't want to be hitting the machine like that.
I literally just grab the machine and go like that
Right.
when I do it, and I usually get like, it's like sometimes it tilts.
Do you think maybe they intended you to do that?
I don't know.
Because what year's the game from?
78.
Maybe they were like, this is like people should fucking whack the thing.
This is how we're making the money,
I don't know.
right?
Yeah, I don't know. Or they probably didn't think about it, and maybe that's the way the game was, and they didn't think that far into it.
Right. But it's weird.
Yeah.
So like I have all these thoughts about my high score and like where did that high score come from?
Right.
Was it like this like guy who was like awesome at it?
Right.
Or did he have the freaking
He's
glass?
just sitting there like
the glass was off and he was testing the
I don't know.
because people
You start to have those thoughts, yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
Like,
is this bullshit? Am I working towards something that's not fucking fair?
right. Like am I gonna look back and now I have the highest score in the like I have the pinball
Like maybe you already did it, and the guy was sitting there like that.
right either that or like I go online and I find out that people have like 10 million points.
I mean, probably that's usually the case. There's always a guy that's better,
right?
Yeah, right, yeah.
But like,
what's the name of the pinball?
Pinball pool.
Pinball pool. We should get a picture of it. For the
it's a
video.
Gottlieb.
Yeah, I think you showed it to me.
1978. It's sitting there. I think you've played it. You've been in my house.
I think I did play it.
You played it, yeah.
So this game has so if you want to play Mr. Do, by the way, this game has a port on Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
It's actually a really good port. I do prefer if you're gonna play it really, you want to play the arcade because the arcade version is vertical.
Yes.
Where the Super Nintendo version is to fit the screen. But regardless, they did a very good job on the Super Nintendo version. There's nothing wrong with it. Wait. There's one thing I want to mention. So I was saying there's all these marquees here, and the first version is the original. The first version of the marquee was orange. The second version of the thing, was the green one. The third one was this yellow marquee. There is one more version of Mr. Do out there that is kind of like a Frankenstein experiment gone wrong.
Yeah,
and that's Ryan's version. You want to talk? You want to talk about yours a little bit?
So we're sitting on Facebook Marketplace, and Mike's talking to me about Mr. Do. You're like, yo, Mr. Do, man, you got to get a Mr. Do. And I'm like, oh, okay, Mike. Yeah, I'll get a Mr. Do.
I mean, I was just telling him my favorite arcade. Like I was like, I like Millipede, and I like this and that.
Yeah.
And Mr. Do was on the list.
Right. So I think I almost have everything that's on your list.
I got a lot of things on my list.
Yeah,
but there's always gonna be another thing.
The ones you mentioned.
Okay, sure.
Right.
Cinestar, I think.
So I got
you
like
should
the perfect Millipede machine, and we've talked about it before on the show. It's like pristine.
The only thing with it is I think Justin pointed this out. The like on the bottom front of it, like the leaves or something, or like
No, my centipede machine has millipede leaves.
Oh, the centipede machine.
It has millipede
so
leaves.
so the millipede machine's perfect.
Yeah.
It's the centipede machine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's what it is.
I mean, the centipede machine has got an LCD in it too, so let's not talk about that.
I only played the millipede machine.
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
No, the centipede machine's pretty gnarly.
I don't want to talk about the LCD.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, we won't talk about that one.
Yeah.
But the millipede machine is like
Yeah, it's nice.
what you want.
And I want to say, like, I was playing with it. I was the ball on it. Like, I was playing with the ball, and the ball is like really functions well because you want the trackball to like not be shitty.
Yeah.
You know, because the arcade went up, so I was like trying to
Yeah.
like that. That's what I was talking about, and I'm glad you finally got like a real dude. Play that fucking millipede with that trackball, and then go play the one up. It's not
No.
the fucking even close to the same thing.
You know those tables that they sell now that are like the Pong tables?
Yeah.
It's like a coffee table but it has Pong in it.
Okay. Yeah.
The freaking spinner in the coffee table Pong with like the sponge
yeah.
is amazing.
Dude, you know what you should get would be awesome too. Speaking of spinner, like a Tempest
Yeah.
or a like an Arcnoid or something like that.
Yeah.
I really like spinner
Dude,
games.
all the Arcnoid, dude, everybody who's got an Arcnoid wants like top dollar for it.
Well, a lot of this shit's really expensive.
Yeah.
I'm just talking like in a perfect world. I don't like literally mean, oh, you got to go out and get it.
Yeah.
You're not my friend if you don't have the Arcnoid machine. Like,
Right. No.
you know.
Yeah.
I'm just
like we're so right now we're like calming down on the purchases because I got to fix.
You have so many things that you got to get ready.
Yeah,
Already. You got enough.
Yeah. I'm doing like 4 a week.
Maybe you should probably stop buying and just only fix the machines you have, and then maybe next year get a couple more.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So anyway, Mr. Do, I was like looking on Facebook and I'm like, oh yeah, Mike, you want a Mr. Do? So this Mr. Do it works great. No complaints.
Yeah.
It works great. This Mr. Do is in a freaking Capcom Dynamo cab that you would put like Street Fighter in.
Oh, it's not a ladybug cabinet.
No, it's not. No. So it's in it, and then they didn't have a marquee for it. So this is in a cabinet that you'd play like Darkstalkers.
Yeah, where did that fucking marquee come from? It's like the stars.
so like the marquee, it's like green. It's green.
Yeah.
It's a different green. And
Well,
then,
technically, the real one's orange.
and then I think somebody cut out like cardboard. Like they did a good job. Like it's neat, but it says like Mr. Do, like somebody did like an
It's
arts
just-
and crafts project, and then they put stars.
Yeah.
It's got stars along the top.
You know what's neat about the real thing? So the ladybug cabinet.
Yeah.
Above the screen is like this glass art where it's like there's a male and a female like fairy like art like you know, and so since they had to take the ladybug machines and then convert that over for Mr. Do conversions, they had to fill that space. So the universal Mr. Do cabinets had this weird background with like this spiral thing, which is just really like I just feel like back then there was so much more like attention to detail and like they really care. Like the other day, like Erin just got a Switch game and she got all excited because she's like, "Oh, there's a sort of an instruction manual in it," which it was a one-piece thing, and like back in our day, instruction manuals were
like thick.
fucking like remember like the PC instruction manuals?
Oh my God.
Like we're at the point now where like if we get one piece of paper, we're like, oh, they put something in there. Isn't that nice? It's like dude, the old like I got those like Heroes of Might and Magic games, like the PC games, and like the old
It's a book.
the Waxworks and shit where it's got the fucking like I should bring that in. I should fucking Waxworks?
Yeah.
We used
That
to
game's
have
creepy.
such it is. We used to have such awesome like manuals and like art and stuff that came with the games and posters and stuff. And it's just like we got nothing now. So anyway, but the point is just like there was such care to the marquees and the art and the side art and all that stuff, and it's a shame because like that's just like all gone now. I do want to talk just a little bit about the sequels real quick.
Okay.
So Mr. Do's Castle, that game is like a combination of Lode Runner and Wrecking Crew.
Really? So totally different.
It's totally different. You're in a castle. Just imagine Wrecking Crew, and then it's like Lode Runner, to where, you know, when like you dig the hole and like the enemy falls in and all that. It's like that, and then it's like Wrecking Crew because you're like hitting these cherries sort of with a hammer the same way like Mario or whoever would be like hitting the doors and stuff. It's kind of like that, and you got to get keys to open a door at the top of the castle to spell out extra, and that's how it's like Mr. Do, because it is a Mr. Do game. So that's Mr. Do's Castle.
Mr. Do's Wild Ride. It's like a dark ride where you get in a car and you're in London and you go to hell at the end.
That would be Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No.
You know, I guess that's
not.
Maybe that's what they were going for with that. It's like a name pun, sort of. It's just like this one sucks. I don't like Mr. Do's Castle is like okay. Mr. Do's Wild Ride. It's just like these screens where you're walking around like roller coasters, and the roller coaster comes and then you die, and then you're like, okay, let me do it again, and the roller coaster comes and you go up a ladder and you get out of the way, and then you walk, and then it's just like it's just really nothing. It's like a piss poor game.
Right.
Do Run Run is the last of the Mr. Do games, and this one's actually a pretty good game. So this title is also a gag because I don't know if you know the song Da Do Ron Ron. It was like from like the 1960s. So they're doing like
Notorious B.I.G. talks about it in a song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how Ryan knows it.
Yeah.
Right. So I like that. But so this game combines basically, I like how all these Mr. Do games are all like ripoffs of other things. Like Mr. Do is like kind of a ripoff of Dig Dug. The other things are ripoff of like Wrecking Crew or something. Well, Wrecking Crew actually came later, but what did I say for the other one? Oh, like Lode Runner.
Yeah.
This is a ripoff of if you combine Congo Bongo and Kix, like QIX, right?
Oh my God.
Right?
Yeah.
So in Congo Bongo, which I know Kieran's a fan of Congo Bongo. So Congo Bongo was interesting because it's an early game where you're like can climb like platforms sort of with a character. So you do that in this. So it's the only Mr. Do game where you're like climbing things like that. But also Kix is a game where you have to like basically like draw a line and then like complete squares.
Yeah.
So if you think about what Mr. Do is, so you're Mr. Do, but apparently in this game he doesn't have his ball. Now he's got a rope. So he's dragging the rope behind him, and he's got there's like dots on the screen like Pac-Man, right? And you're dragging the rope around the dots, and you create like a square. So when you do that, what does that do? Now the dots became cherries. There's your cherries. But now you do it again. So you go around again. And you're being chased by enemies and stuff as this is going on.
Right.
So you do it again, and now the cherries become like lemons or something. And then you do it again, and they become like pineapples. Why are you doing that? Every time you do that, the fruit multiplies in score.
Yeah.
So then be like 200 points, 400 points, 800 points. So you keep doing that. And basically that's like the mechanic they came up with that. And instead of like the boulders and the candy apples and all that shit, there's like logs. You push the logs and you can roll over enemies and whatnot.
That's awesome.
So then it's at least a lot better than this fucking Wild Ride shit.
So then there's the fifth game, which is Mr. Do's Last Ride, where see Mr. Do goes, he gets a rope, he climbs to the top of a tree, and then he jumps off. And that's the last we heard from Mr. Do.
That's that would be good if there wasn't the Neo Geo game.
So I guess I was wrong.
Yeah. So so the Neo Geo game I'm not including in this video because I was only going to talk about the arcade games.
Okay. Wait, the Neo Geo game, is there a cart?
There's a cart, and it's expensive. I don't have it.
Oh, okay.
And I have a cart that has a bunch of games on it, but it
I have
doesn't
like
have that on
a
it.
351
I mean,
Neo
we
Geo
can go
multi-cart.
look and see if
you want to pop that sucker in.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if it's on there. See, I have a cart like that too.
Yeah,
but
it's not on there.
It's not on there.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know, because it's the thing. Well, so mine is I have like it's like for AES. That's a like actual arcade like MVS, and I don't know, it doesn't work or it's not on there or whatever. So I looked on eBay and it's like $1,000. So it's not included in this podcast because I didn't buy the $1,000 game. Sorry.
God damn it.
So yeah, that's basically. I think I talked about pretty much everything that is in this. The game is very erratic, and it's as you're actually playing the game, it gets very intense and crazy. And once you actually know all the rules and know how to play it, it's a lot of fun. If you're going around and collecting the cherries, the game fucking sucks. But if you're going around and you're playing the game the way you're supposed to play it, it can be a pretty fun little arcade game.
That's cool.
That's all.
Dude, my son loved the crap out of it. He sat there and played it for like an hour.
Yeah.
I don't think he got anywhere.
Right.
But
well, it's also hard.
He had fun.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, this is good. But then finally, after an hour, he's like, I'm going to go play Strider again.
Well, Strider's cool too.
Yeah.
That's what we got for today. If there are any other old arcade games that you would ever like us to talk about on the show, let us know in the comments. If there are any Dreamcast games you would like us to talk about on the show, let us know. Or if there are any games in general you would like to hear us talk on the show. It probably isn't any more Mr. Do, I'm sure.
Yeah, you'll probably end up with more coherent episodes if you just make a comment and tell us what to play.
Yeah,
because the Mr. Do Cannon Spike episode, I mean...
What do you think that they want us to play, if you had to take a guess?
I don't even know. Like, to be honest, I think they let... Ninja Turtles. We played that last week.
Well, like Mega Man or something.
Mega Man but 2? You can only play so much Mega Man 2.
Right. And by the way, didn't we do a whole Mega Man thing on Patreon?
We did.
Like early on?
Yeah, where we talked about all the original NES Mega Man games.
So if you do want to hear us talk about Mega Man, subscribe to our Patreon and check that out. And there's a lot of other content on there. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week on another episode of Talk About Games. Bye, guys.
Bye.
We are waiting for the Dark Souls of fighting games. Let us have it. We're ready.
Soul Edge has nothing on a lightsaber. Like, I'm sorry.
James Earl Jones comes back.
No!
Oh, no! Oh!
I don't think kids trade games anymore.
I need that sense of accomplishment, and it wasn't there. And I think that was a major flaw.
The way they engineer these is just phenomenal.
As much as you're into like the comics, I was very into the toys, so I was on like the message board all the time.